I'm Eric Hoger, the Director of Global Renewable Energy for Cargill.
My name is Peter Dahm. I'm a Sustainability Director at Cargill, focused on operations and natural resources.
We do everything from take in corn and process it into corn syrup, to bringing in soybeans and processing it into vegetable oil.
Two years ago, Cargill launched a very ambitious greenhouse gas target, and it was a 10% absolute reduction in Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions, which represent our operational emissions. Now that doesn't sound like a huge number that you say, oh, well, over the course of 8 years, a 10% reduction, what does that really mean? But the thing, if you think about it, is if our emissions in 2017 were 12 million metric tons, by 2025, we need to be 10% below that, okay? So that's a reduction, but in that time, we expect to grow. Cargill is a growth company, so all of that growth needs to be offset, which makes this a very, very ambitious target for us.
One of the things that we did initially was we said, where could we really achieve a big reduction very, very quickly?
You could conceivably put solar panels on the roof of your plant or the roof of your office. That makes sense, and it's a great solution. But when you get into the volumes that we're talking about, the volumes of electricity that we really need, it's just not feasible to do that on site. And that's really where off-site PPAs come into play.
One of the ways to do that in the North American market is with a virtual power purchase agreement. It allows an end user to achieve utility scale economics on a carbon reduction project. As the buyer in the transaction, you agree to pay a fixed price for the renewable energy from the developer. The developer, in return, pays you the market prices, and that represents the ability for the developer to manage their price exposure so that they are able to then finance the renewable energy and ultimately build the project. And that is where Geronimo came in that Geronimo was who we did our first virtual power purchase agreement with to achieve a large carbon reduction. For the project that we did, the Crocker Wind Farm in South Dakota, it's by virtue of us participating in the project, Cargill receives the renewable energy credits from the project. The renewable energy credits are quite important to us because that's what allows us to look at the carbon goal and count it against our carbon footprint. It's a little bit over 100,000 metric ton CO2 equivalent reduction in our carbon footprint. I did not understand what one of these projects can do for a community until I went to the dedication event for the Crocker Wind Farm that we participated in. So I saw firsthand how one of these projects really does promote economic development in an area that needs it. This project added new employment and new residents to the area.
When you talk about the value of Geronimo, I think really what it came down to is that they understood what we were looking for and what we were trying to do. You know, looking back on it, I think we were pretty fortunate.
Geronimo reminded me a lot of how we worked together within Cargill. It was extremely collaborative, and it was very much a relationship of equals. They were a pleasure to work with on the transaction, and it allowed us to get our first VPPA done. One of the things that was great is when you have another party you can work with that you can mutually discuss and come to mutual solutions, it just accelerates the process. It ends up being a win-win for everyone who was involved in the project.